And coming to you live from Vostok Boktok, where is this area? Manchuria. I am your host, Yaku of Duzaku. With me today, I have Excesso de Botox himself, Light_VIP. How we doing, Light?
Excuse me? What's up, Yaku? Sorry if you were in the chat. You know, it's a little bit of a shaky start, but things have been sorted out. We are casting today ESL Open Cup number 11 Asia edition, and mate, take it away.
Mate, in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning in the top right-hand corner of Eternal Empire, we have the Red Protoss representing Mate Hexa, all the way from Malaysia. You know him, you love him, he is the #1 Malaysian player. Everybody give it up for Ranger.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Eternal Empire, we have the Canadian Zerg. But now she's basically Korean. She's been there for many years now. She is representing Team Newbie. It is Scarlett. And they've got some history.
Apparently.
I mean, they both lived together when they were in Korea. For those who do not know, Ranger did go to the Team Unity house a couple of months ago. He was there before SEA Games, which was in November, October, something like that.
Yeah, back in November.
Yeah.
Late November.
But yeah.
Oops. Speaking of which, Malaysia, your soup, not as good as the Singapore version.
I mean, you know, we'll see. We'll see what their opinions are when it comes to that. It seems like, you know, they're playing a series, but you know, they're also talking about food, and
yeah, that's how it should be done, really.
Exactly. It's beautiful. But it's definitely
hot here.
It's cool to see. Yeah.
I can't confirm that.
Yakuzaku being from Singapore, he's basically right next door to Malaysia. It's like an hour's drive.
It used to be more accurate to being right next door to Malaysia, because I used to live on the border.
That's accurate. Yeah, it's very true. But you know, these two, they live together, they practice together. I've never seen them play against each other, so I want to see if there's, you know, if there's anything to it, right?
If they know each other well enough to get into each other's heads.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they're already doing like the classic, you know, messaging each other, trying to throw each other off, right? That's what happens on the ladder. But yeah, this is kind of cool to see like these two kind of friends duke it out.
And speaking of duke it out, it is gonna happen. Well, I say that, but the only interaction that really happened so far was Zerglings attacking a probe.
Yeah, it's been pretty tame so far. You know, they're just kind of chilling, kind of talking about food, you know, seeing what each other likes, you know, before things kind of
misdirection.
Yeah, before things heat up. And
speaking of heating up, Ranger immediately after or as the Robo facility was about to finish, that's just gonna grab the Twilight Council. He has something planned, and I think nope, that is not what I expected.
Oh,
that is a Dark Shrine coming down.
Oh, okay. I dig this. You know, pretty often in ZVP, you've seen a lot of Stargate openers coming out from Protoss, but instead, you know, we've got War Prism, we've got some DTs, some Archon drops potentially after the DTs.
Oh, it's gonna have to be.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those builds it was never really unpopular, never really off the meta, but it seems like Protoss players sort of do it every other game in PvZ now. And you know what? Can't really blame them. It is effective.
And surprisingly, we don't really have
a lot of utility behind it as well.
Yeah, we don't really have an Overlord in position from Scarlett to go into the main to scout what exactly Ranger is going for when it comes to his tech. You know, it's 4 minutes 30 already, and she doesn't know if it's Stargate or Robo or what exactly. And the DTs, they're coming.
But you know what? When in doubt, get some roaches, get an Overseer. I like this from Scarlett. She did go for a bit of an early lair earlier on, so she just wants to be, you know, completely safe for anything that Ranger might throw down. Couple of DTs getting warped in, could be going into the natural, but with the roaches and the Overseer already in place, I don't see this getting too much done. DTs can tank a little bit of hits in the early game when it's, you know, lower tier units, but yeah, Ranger gonna have to pull out there.
Yeah, he kills a single roach and then backs off, which, you know, is fine. And again, like, these units, they continue to have utility as they can turn into Archons, right?
Yep, that's basically the reason why you go for DTs as opposed to that other harass unit.
Alright.
Sure. Look, adepts are good, but if you want to be dedicated, you can either get a handful of adepts or be very dedicated to them. Oh, the main natural, rather.
Yeah, Link slip into the natural. There wasn't a wall there. The unit wasn't in position, and 8 workers go down. Oh my god. And that was to a minimal amount of Link's suit. Meanwhile, though, that Archon drop happens in the natural of Scarlett. 2 workers do go down.
Pulls back. Does manage to keep most of her workers alive, unlike Ranger with the probe. Oh, but Ranger's not done here. Alright, now he backs off. And
meanwhile, Scarlett, she's hiding your favorite building of the Zerg.
It's so effective. I like it.
Hey. So
I can't because my throat.
That's understandable. But we do have mutas on the way, and they are currently being hidden. You know, Ranger has no idea that this is coming. He's kind of been focusing on harassing the natural.
Yeah, pretty much. Already loses one of the Archons, and that's not something that you can continue to do. Almost going down. What is this? Huh.
Don't question it. Don't question it.
I guess I won't.
But the Overseer the Scarlett does finally make it into the main, does see exactly what is coming down, you know, the extra gateways, the Dark Shrine, nothing too crazy, no tech switch. Meanwhile, the 6 mutas.
Of all, she realizes there's no anti-air up here.
Yeah, and meanwhile, 6 mutas are on the way.
Yeah, and in general, Ranger just doesn't have a lot of anti-air. It's 1 Archon and 4... not Immortals, the other unit. Stalkers. That's the one. I wanted to say Dragoons, but I thought, wait a minute.
I mean,
there are 4 sentries, which is about enough that you need when you need anti-air. Right?
Sure. I mean, you know, if he had maybe 1 or 2 more Archons, it'd be great, but they are also very slow units. And if they're not in position, like, it can be so hard to defend your bases with them.
You can try to quickly get the Archons in place, which they are not right now. Scarlett's just getting more and more probes here in the natural. Man, Ranger just cannot mine from this base. Scarlett is not letting him. Chasing down these probes once again, and he already loses 12. This has pushed Ranger into an all-in, and he is going straight for it by his army supply, which is not enough.
Like, this
basically half of what Scarlett has.
Yeah, this is basically just triggering him to go across the map. He's basically said, all right, you have my base, I'm gonna try and end it. But there are so many roaches. All these banelings are being morphed in as well. I can't see Ranger breaking through this.
Neither can I. He is definitely gonna have to do something. The force field is pretty good, but there's just no.
Oh, the banelings come in.
The banelings go in and they crash into the sentries. No force fields for you today. There's no anti-air here to take out the War Prince, but it doesn't matter. GG is called, and Scarlett takes game 1.
Mate. It looks pretty rough, I must say, for Ranger. Yeah, like the mutas just caught him completely off guard. If it wasn't for the mutas, you could argue that maybe he could have continued to macro up and get an army that was competitive with Scarlett's. But because of the situation he was put in, he was kind of forced to push out across the map, and he just didn't have what he needed.
It looked to me like it was a situation where Ranger was trying to cut corners in order to get to the sort of late game or the mid to late game tech as quickly as he possibly could have, at least after the Archon drop kind of failed. So he thought, okay, I need to get to the next stage and I need the money to do that. I cannot invest too much into my army right now. I need workers, but Scarlett just would not let that happen.
Yeah.
And speaking of cutting corners, Scarlett didn't cut corners either. She didn't scout what Ranger was doing. Instead, she just said, I'm going to have a very safe build. I'm going to make sure that I know anything that you can throw at me, and I'll make it so that I'll be safe. I'll get the Overseer, that early lair, get a bunch of roaches. What are you going to do? Macro up back at home? Yeah, you better.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a catch, like her opener was ready to be defensive for anything, really. I say that, but I think a Stargate opener would have done a lot more. You know, she skipped out on spores. She had a bunch of roaches to defend against ground units, but she didn't have a bunch of queens, really. She only had like one for each base. So potentially, like, you know, an Oracle or something along those lines could have done a lot of damage, maybe even Phoenixes. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe she just knows how Ranger likes to play, and she's like, oh, he's probably going to go for something like this. You know, I'll just be ready just in case. And
well, that may have been the case back when they were in Korea. But since the SEA Games, man, Ranger, he's been throwing in Stargates left and right. And by left and right, I mean he throws it in the series. As you've seen from the previous weeklies that we've had, particularly GPO.
Yep, and just, you know, getting the lobby set up. The first lobby didn't have Game Heart, unfortunately, so it was remade.
I was wondering why everyone left.
Yeah. Shout out to Scarlett. She likes playing on Game Heart as well. She mentioned that she hates
one that skins.
Yes, exactly. She hates unit skins.
Yeah, if only more players hated unit skins.
Exactly.
Then we get Game Heart.
If only more players hated Blizzard trying to monetize off their game.
Exactly.
It's I appreciate it as a caster. It's I must say. Alright, here we go.
Spoiled, man. We're gonna get spoiled, man, with all these Game Hearts.
I just can't wait for WCS 4.0 to go live, man.
Yeah, that's such a good interface. But speaking of good interfaces, here is the player who remade the lobby so we'd have a good interface. It is the Red Protoss, trained in Korea, that came back recently, and I think he might agree with me on this. Malaysian soup, not as good as Singapore. It is representing Mate Hexa. Yeah, and you know what else in your country sucks? The pork soup. Ours is better.
Hashtag called out.
Called out. It is the Red Protoss representing Mate Hexa all the way from Malaysia. It is Ranger.
Having some ping issues, which from the C region, from the OCE region, I'm sure we can all relate. Having ping issues, but
kind of.
Here in the top left-hand corner of Nightshade LE, currently residing in Korea but representing Canada, as well as newbie, it is Scarlett.
Time for... See, I like this. Even though they're playing against each other, their opponents right now, Scarlett, more than willing to give Ranger some advice on what to do here.
I love it. I love the bands between these two friends. It's cool to see. As you know, it isn't really something you see too often. It's a little bit unfortunate. You know, recently No Regret and Scarlett and Special, they've been streaming from the house, but it feels like it's something that happens far too infrequently. It's only recently that they've been doing it, and it's cool if, you know, we got a couple more updates from the house to see who's there, right? Like, a lot of people never knew that Ranger was there, for example. You know, things like that. It's cool to see.
Just nodding along in agreement here. As things happen. By things happen, I mean slowly they happen.
Yeah, ooh, I like this. Switching things up from game number 1, we have a Stargate coming in from Ranger. And
yep, I think
go on.
I think Ranger agrees with you what you were saying earlier. If Scarlett wants to play this safe Roach style, Ranger is gonna punish that with the one build that can possibly punish a safe Roach opener.
Yeah, and as you say that, you know, we do have Scarlett going for that Roach Warren. She is hiding it back in the main, which is quite interesting. Still only on 1 gas, getting a 3rd. I expect her to get a couple more gases, but 5 Roach. Oh, this is getting a little bit scary, actually. What Scarlett's doing?
This might be a Okay, well, it looks like Scarlett wants to counter Stargate with just getting an excessive amount of roaches here.
Yeah, and with an excessive
Stargate, actually.
Yeah, with an excessive amount, like an Oracle isn't going to matter. It isn't going to be able to take down 8 roaches, and they're starting to push out across the map, mate. This is happening.
Even with Outlair, that's a stupid amount of lings being produced immediately. I worry that this might be way too much for Ranger to really deal with. Ranger does see some units moving across the map, but I don't think he quite knows the extent of it.
I feel like he should, especially with the scout, but oh god, the wall is being made, the Oracle is coming out as well, but
the Oracle is gonna have to stay at home defensively.
It needs to stay at home.
It does.
And it needs to focus on at least the lings.
I don't think I can really kill anything here. He's just waiting for some energy to bank up, either that or he's trying to process the situation right now, which I don't blame him. I need a second as well.
Finally, he activates. He's going for the lings, but the wall is broken. It's too late. He's busting in. She's busting in. Oh god.
Trying to mineral walk with these probes, trying to get the Zerglings wherever he can, but they are getting surrounded, and the roaches just clean out.
This is it.
This is about the end.
The natural 16 workers go down. Oh my god, the pylons go down, everything's gonna get depowered, and that's GG.
GG it's called. And Scarlett will advance. Ooh, Lord. That was...
I would say dominant. That was like, you know, like...
I wonder how much of this is based on just Scarlett knowing how Ranger plays, but she did not scout.
She did not. She played the way she wanted to, and she just made it happen. Ranger, you could definitely argue that he could have done better with his scouting. It's difficult though, because Scarlett, she was hiding that Roach Warren in the back of her main. Like, this was something that she was, you know, hiding on purpose, right? She didn't want him to scout it. And because of that, like, he had difficulties with it, and by the time he realized what was happening, it was too late.
That it was. Man. I'm just trying to sort of get into the players. I'm trying to get some sort of rationale, try to think, why did they play that way? But it definitely just seems like a situation where they thought, yeah, I want to play this way. I'm going to play this way. And I'll adapt if need be. And it seems like, so far, at least for Scarlett, need be was not the case.
It looks like things may have lined up for us. I'm hoping, because looking at the brackets, you know, exclamation mark brackets in the chat, one of the matches I would have loved to go into was either this series, which we were lucky enough to go into, or Probe versus Gogo Joey. Or Joey. I don't know if that's Gogo Joey.
Yeah, because that's the thing. That's a flag of Laos.
Exactly. But the winner of that will go up against
Gogo
now
Joey's from
Scarlett.
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And the winner of that happens to actually be Probe.
There we go. Probe is vetoing against Scarlett, and we will be casting that series next.
Oh boy. Oh lordy. That's another PvZ, but I have a feeling that this will be quite a different PvZ than we might be used to for playing. Probe definitely has a very different play style than Ranger. Ranger is more of a player who wants to hit timings so that he can be safe back at home to macro up. Probe, you could kind of argue that he's like that as well, but Probe definitely plays a lot more defensive. If he thinks that he can't get damage done across the map, if he thinks that he can't hit a timing, then he'll just stay back at home. He'll just turtle up a little bit, try to get his economy going, try to get some infrastructure, and then march across the map.